Hi.
Morning, Prof. How are you doing? Do you know,
Good
Prof,
morning.
before you say anything, can I just apologize for the way I sound this morning? I think I am almost losing my voice, and I'm sure you know why. But anyways, I'm glad
What I can say is that your background looks different and your audio sounds different.
Definitely. You see, this is what we say about SonRise. We take SonRise with us everywhere we go. As you well know, I am completely out of the country. Having fun, explaining why my voice is almost gone. But you can blame somebody. How are you, Joe? How are you? How was your week? Did you have a good one?
Good. It's been great. It's great. Obviously, a few things happening around us, and I suspect we'll talk about some of those things shortly. But otherwise, great all around. We thank God, and we're grateful for life and for grace.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. You know what, Prof? Even I am grateful. And viewers, good morning to you. I don't think we've forgotten you. We haven't at all. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining this morning. As we always say, this is your favorite Sunday morning show and you want to be here. So please do let your friends and family know that we're live and just come and join us. So Prof, even though you haven't asked how I am, or how my week was, I will still tell you. I am very fine, as you can see. I cannot complain. I am in a very hot country at the moment. So trust me, I'm not missing the cold. But anyway, I had to rub that in, so you can feel a bit of a pinch there. And I hope you felt it. But back to the serious stuff why we're here this morning, Prof. We're talking about, earlier we're having a conversation around liberty. And in the last few weeks, there has been a lot happening in the world. So for instance, in Europe, the issue with Ukraine and Russia, and now the invasion, now we know that's going on. And then also in the sporting industry, I believe, in the last few weeks, there's been 4 athletes banned, due to use of banned substances. Again, now, when we think about this, even though this might have been one person's doing, but it's actually costing so many other people or a few other people, costing them their liberty, their freedom, their own freedom. So someone's done something wrong. So if we were to pick the Ukraine and Russia issue as an example, right now, people in Ukraine are having this free people. And now it seems that in their own country, they are not able to move around freely. There is constant fear of what's going to come, what's happening. And even around the world, everyone is watching right now, But that is because of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people's decisions now affecting how many people of 2 nations. Because I wouldn't even just say Ukraine, even Russia, because there will be people in Russia who are very scared of retaliation, who are very scared of the input of other countries. And so when it comes to our liberty and how other people's decisions affect our liberty, Prof, what do you think about this? How do you see it? Because as a person, definitely, I don't think I want to pay for another man's sin. I don't think I want. Do you understand? Yeah. It's like when COVID came, and it was a case of, it started off in a particular country, they didn't report it on time, and then all of a sudden the whole world had to go on lockdown. That could have been someone's decision or a group of people's decision, but we all had to pay for it. What do you think about this and how do you see it?
Well, thank you, Bibby. I think that there are a couple of things at play here that you've talked about. So there's the role of one person's decision or one party's decision affecting another party. And you gave 2 examples. I think the specific example that you were referring to was the British 4x100 meters relay team, men's relay team, that got stripped of the medal because, unfortunately, one of the athletes tested positive to a banned substance, and that was subsequently confirmed. And so you had that disappointment or that loss, if you like, in a sense of that hard-won freedom. I mean, in the loosest sense of the word, but in this case, it's something that they really trained hard and fought hard, and then won this, only for it to be taken away. And I think the parallel between that and our freedoms is, that every freedom that we have and we enjoy today, somebody in the past has fought for it. So whether it is as a person, as a child, as an individual, enjoying the freedom, if you like, of living a life without certain worries, that's usually because earlier on in your generational line has paid the price for it. So maybe your parents or the parents before them, or indeed you're doing the same thing for your children, winning certain freedoms. And then you can imagine where somebody then makes a decision that sets them back to square one. Maybe a family has provided for the children such that they wouldn't have to start from the beginning, and then they go and do something and lose all of that. And it's something like that. Imagine how much more painful it is when it's somebody else's decision. And so that is the one element, right? And then the other element is this Ukraine-Russia angle. We can talk about that after the break. I just want to focus on this first one here, where you have something slightly different. That this team, these young men, they had done such a great job. In fact, they almost got gold and they were pipped at the line, and then they had achieved this thing. And for many of them, this could be the last opportunity, or at least an opportunity that maybe they were not so sure of. And it came up and they won it. Now it's gone. Right? How do you respond to that? How do you manage that? And I like your honesty, because the fact is, many of us can say, oh, it's not a big deal, but think about how much effort and how much work you put into it, and then somebody else's mistake. Now, you might say it's a mistake. If you're being generous, you might say, actually, it's deviousness. Whatever the case may be, it wasn't your choice. And then because these guys have been stripped of the medal. I tell you, there were two responses that I'm aware of two members of that team. So one of the members said, I will never be able to forgive this person.
Wow.
That's honest. And the other person said, I cannot not forgive him because he is my brother and I know him. And it's very interesting, right? That we have these two different responses from people within the same context. They've experienced the same thing, and their responses are different. What is the right response? I'm not sure I can sit here and say that the person that says I can never forgive him, that because I'm not sure I know what it feels like. But it does show us the options that we face as a people, as a person. If you face this sort of situation where something you fought for so hard and then managed to get, or did something that you've inherited because of the hard work that somebody else has done, and then it's taken away from you because of what somebody has done, how would you respond to that? We know what the expectation is, right? I think that all we think to ourselves that the expectation is that we should say, oh, no problem, we forgive.
That's right.
I think that's a journey, though, right? It's a journey that we have to get to. It's a journey.
And I mean, would you really blame? Is it the person that says, I would never be able to forgive this person? Or the other one who says, I would have to forgive this person because this person is my brother? They've all had to work for it. And for one person's mistake, we can call it mistake because the person probably just did whatever it was that they did. But for one person's error, they've all had to pay for it. I mean, it's a difficult place to be.
I'm not sure blame is the word here. I guess, you know what? Let's do this, right? We're going to have our spotlight segment coming up. And in that segment, I think we're going to have an experience share that talks about how, again, somebody's liberty is taken or impacted by a decision other people make. When we come back, let's explore this a bit more. Is it about blame? What's the right response? Where do you strike the balance between the two?
Yes. Absolutely. Let's explore that. Viewers, don't go anywhere. When we come back, it will be our spotlight segment. So it's not spotlight minutes, it is segment. Okay? See you shortly.
See you.
The Egyptians relentless on our trail. The Red Sea impassable in our fall. Between a rock and a hard place. Insurmountable, unnavigable, untraversable the terrain might be. Yet, the voice of He who set the world in motion I hear. In the midst of darkness he speaks light. Trapped in a repetitive cycle the days have seemed. But now I hear him say, turn you northwards. I hear him say, go forward, for I will make a way where there seems to be no way. Against all odds, 2022 is our year to advance. The prophetic word from heaven over our lives in this new year is advance. The Red Sea will part, the Jordan will back up, the rocks, the mountains will give way. All he requires of you is to advance in faith. In the face of daunting odds, advance. It is your time to advance. Go forward.
Good morning, MOG.
Good
so
morning,
good to see you, sir.
Yes, this is Pastor Yemi Adenuga. I know that last time you
have to be so formal. I've just
well,
said MOG.
Well, that is his title, right? Everybody that sees him, you say MOG. For the uninitiated, they might say, what is MOG? A mug? Does he like cats? Muggy? It's a man of God.
It is man of God, yes. So, yes, please go on with your formal introduction of man of God. Well, I was going to say of MOG.
No. I was just going to say that, for people who, I'm sure that a lot of you who are watching, you'd have seen him, right? In the last few weeks, he's one of the pastoral team, of course. You'd have seen him during the church services, doing his powerful transitions and prayers and so forth. Yeah, that's the man that you've seen. So welcome. Thank you for joining us, MOG.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you, sir, for joining us. So great to have you back on the show. This morning, you have joined us for our Spotlight Minute. As we've said, you're not a stranger. You've become part of the house now. So after some time, we'll start giving some badges to some people, like they keep coming, you start collecting those badges. But anyway, for this morning, just as we launched last year, towards the end of last year, I believe it was, another very exciting game on the show. And in fact, I like to call it game because I still want it to be very light. It's still very light. It's still very, very fun for a Sunday morning. And for this morning, this game, this one is called Tell Us About It. And what are you telling us about? You would ask me. Okay, it is basically for you to tell us about an experience you've had. Just look back into your life. What is it that you think has really stayed with you that you want to tell us about? So can you think of something very quickly that you would like to tell us about this morning?
I think an experience that came to light would be my recent managed quarantine experience.
Oh, wow.
That to talk about.
I love that. I think I'm really getting excited. Prof, I don't know if you are about this. I am getting excited about this.
What was that, COVID or something else?
Yeah, it was
quarantine.
One of those COVID isolation thing. I will return from a red list country, Nigeria, and then that was just when they classified Nigeria as a red list country, and then you had to get into a managed quarantine for 10 days. So it was set up. What did you say?
So yeah, just tell us, how was that? Were you there for the whole of the 10 days? Because I remember there was a time that was kind of cut off or something.
Now, that's then the miracle, because 3 or 4 days into it, in fact, by the third day, there was something in the air about some change in the government.
Oh, wow.
And we all glued to the TV in my hotel. Thankfully for me, I was in a decent hotel, so my experience wasn't too bad, but I had a different kind of experience. And there was the announcement by the minister, that they were turning back on the thing. And by 4 p.m. of the fourth day, we were all jubilant, rushing to get out of the hotel.
Oh wow!
Sorry, if I may chip in, how did it work when you got to the airport? Was it that you were kind of marched from the plane into the hotel? How did that work?
Interesting. Now, I got wind of the fact that it will play out that way. So when somebody said you'll be escorted from the port of entry, I didn't quite get it. So as soon as I got my passport stamped and I was told, wait a minute, and somebody from G4S approached me and said, can you please come with me? So I was like, okay, what's going on here? And that was the beginning of a restricted life. I was already in the UK, but restricted. So you're right. So I was marched off from port of entry, and I waited for a few other guys, and they were straight in the coach to the hotel.
Oh, so what would you say then impacted you most from this experience?
I think what impacted me was the restriction. The restriction started from, ordinarily coming into the country, you get your passport stamp, you want to go and pick your baggage and get off, whichever way. But on this occasion, I couldn't even get my luggage. So it was straight being marched up to a small corner. Where are you booked in? and then to a coach, and then from the coach straight to the hotel, you know. And you're riding the coach. A few people got to the hotel that they were booked in, and they were told there was no availability for them. So I was thankfully not one of those. So already having thoughts in my mind, hey, what's going on here? But finally, I got into the hotel that I was going to be lodged in. So what stood in for me was the fact that, so not only did I got matched in through the process into the hotel, I could not freely go to the restaurant. I could not freely go and have a workout. I have to call to say, okay, yes, I want to have fresh air. I want to take exercise.
Wow.
I get escorted from my room downstairs to the major car park, do my running.
My goodness.
And they're watching me. I'm wondering what's going on here. They're timing me. You don't have more than, and then you're
house arrest. You're under house arrest.
Do you understand?
That was it. That was the restriction.
Wow.
Then your meals get served at a particular time.
Oh my goodness.
You know?
Wow. Do you know, it's like, thank you so much, Emoji, for sharing that, because that's just giving us insight into what life would have really looked like in that environment, because we all learned about the fact that yes, hotel quarantine, you stay there and all of that stuff, but you know, that's some pretty serious experience there. But anyways, thank you so much for sharing. But do you know what, very last thing is, I know our time is running very fast, for our viewers this morning, what would you be, I mean, for you, from what you've explained so far, what would you want anyone who's watching this morning to take away from your experience?
I think it's important to cherish the moment of liberty that you have. What you think is liberty and freedom to do whatever you have to do, whenever you want to do it. I think it's not something you should take for granted. The fact that you are not under anybody's restriction, under any governance, even that you are fit to move about. So that's one thing. But that you have the liberty, the choice, and the freedom to do what you want. Something to take really very precious, because it could take it from you and you just can't do anything.
Do you know, I think we can go home now. In fact, maybe this is church right now. You know,
that's profound.
Thank you so much, Emoji. Thank you, really profound. Viewers, please help us love an emoji. Thank you so much for joining us again. We look forward to having you again. Hopefully, you wouldn't have to quarantine anyway. You're just coming straight. It will be good. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
In service.
God bless
Take
you.
care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
The prophetic word from heaven over our lives in this new year is advance. It is your time to advance. Go forward.
Welcome back, viewers. Welcome back. Good to have you all back. If you're just joining us, you want to watch the first segment of today's episode. You know, we're talking about liberty and how other people's decisions or actions impact our liberty, be it positively or negatively. And you heard it from Emoji, I call him Emoji, Pastor Yemi Adenuga, as he shared his experience of isolation. You know, again, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of other people's decision impacting our liberty. And I like what he said about, you know, do not take for granted your liberty. We were talking earlier about, you know, Ukraine and Russia and what the impact of what is going on in those nations have on not just the two countries, but other countries around the world as well. And Prof, you were just speaking about, I mean, you kind of landed on the athletes' issues, you know, when one person had to, took a banned substance, and then that meant the whole of the group had to be disqualified from something that they had worked so hard for. I mean, what do we say? We were just talking about, who do we blame? Do we even use the word blame, or is there any other positive or any other word to use? So Prof, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Bibby. I think, you know, these sorts of topics, it's very easy to look at them from a theoretical perspective because we're not embroiled in it, whether we're talking of the athlete situation or indeed the situation with Russia and Ukraine, because the reality of it can be very different, right? And like we talked about the athletes, it's a decision they have to make. We know what we are called to do as a people that walk with God. It's not easy. It was never going to be easy, but the act of forgiveness is not actually necessarily primarily for the person being forgiven. It's primarily for the person doing the forgiving.
Forgiving, yes.
Because of who you are. So that's the one thing. Now, the other thing about, something a bit more martial, as in the example of Russia and Ukraine, again, very similar. Imagine somebody, you're walking somewhere and then somebody comes and takes something from you. Because that's the similar, somebody got mugged, or somebody got robbed, or somebody got swindled, somebody got defrauded, or however that happens. It's a similar set of situation. At the end of the day, that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about somebody taking something from you that you value. In this case, we're talking of whether it's liberty or something that you want. The same thing. And how do you respond? I think that, again, very easy theoretically, but I think that at the underpinning every response that is effective, or every response that is the right sort of response from us as a people, should be being deliberate.
That's right.
Should be a deliberate approach and intentionality towards it. What I mean about that is, remember the last time we spoke and we talked about building a bridge? And I asked the question, when do you build the bridge? Is it when you need the bridge, or before you
before you do? Yes.
I think it's the same thing. It's setting the discipline, the intentionality of dealing with some of these things needs to happen beforehand. It needs to happen in the establishment and understanding of who we are, and being very clear about how we respond to certain things. Because the one thing is very clear in life, right? In life, you will suffer loss. That's just the way life is.
Yes.
And sometimes as a function of age or as a function of training, we learn how to deal with some of these situations. And so what we need as part of our Christian discipline is to determine how we respond when such situations come up. Whether we respond from the place of anger and from the place of offense, or whether we respond from the place of love and the place of justice. Okay, right? Those, the response may actually not be different, but it's what's underpinning it that is changed, right? An example is this. Look, if somebody is trying to take from you something that you've worked hard to earn, you shouldn't just sit back and say, oh, there you take it because I am showing love. Right? Sometimes what you do actually is you take the person down, you tackle them to the ground, and you take back down to you. But the difference is this, between that coming from offense and coming from a place of justice and love, is that where this idea of proportionality, that when you go to the court of law and they say, oh, hang on, that person mugged this man, and the man chased that person down, took what he was taken from him, and then proceeded to bash that person's head in until the person died. And then you think, hang on, that was disproportionate. Right? What you did was no longer just justice, because justice would have been, I take that which belongs to me, and maybe I hand you over to the authorities, and I'm not doing it from a place of whatever, of offense, or from a place of trying to see you suffer. I'm doing it to make sure that things are put right. And so that's what I mean. Our response has got to be intentional on the side of justice. Where something is taken unjustly, we should go and get it back. We need to get it back, whether it's freedom, whether it's somebody's reputation, whether it's a physical or a material possession, whatever it is. There is one element of chasing it down and getting it back. But the key thing has got to be what's underlying that. We should not be acting and reacting from a place of offense. We should be acting and responding from a place of love and justice. The two go together. So we can dispense justice and say to the person, you've done something wrong, I'm going to oppose you, right? Because I don't know this thing you've done. But it doesn't mean I then stop loving you as a person, as somebody for whom Christ died. I will love you as a person, but I will just oppose what you've done and what you stand for. So I think that's really, so you can see in that team, you can tell the person off, I'm not happy with what you've done, I disagree with it, and you know what, this is something that I struggle with, but you can still say to the person, because of who I am, I'm not going to stop walking in love towards you. It will take me a good few years to forget what you've done, right?
But, of course, yeah. You know, Prof, I think you've rounded that up very, very nicely. You know, we shouldn't act or react from a place of offense. You know, we should do it from a place of love and justice. Where justice needs to be served, yes, it needs to be served. But this is where we actually react to any situation from that place of love. And as we all say, we're Christians and we trust the Holy Spirit to help us all, you know, to react. Because this is not just at a national level, just even at an individual level, you know, we just need to put ourselves in check. You know, let's not take our liberty for granted. Prof, thank you so very much for that. Viewers, I hope you have got something from today's episode. If you're just joining us and you've missed the first and second segment of today's show, please go back and watch the replay. There's so much in there to pick up from there. Prof, it is time for service. And as always, please take us into service.
Thank you, Bibby. So yes, it's the last Sunday of February, and that means it's also Thanksgiving Sunday. It's a wonderful time to be alive. This is going to be a special day because Pastor Yemi is not going to be in, but we've got somebody who's coming to bring the word. So you know what? We're still walking with God this month. We've learned what we've learned. Why don't we just all make our way straight right now to the Rock Tower to see what God has in store for us. Don't go anywhere. See you there. God bless you.
Yes. See you in service. Bye.